We made it, everybody! We are back to talk about the fifth and final Twilight film. The Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 2. This is, of course, the final movie in the series. It's the sequel to Breaking Dawn based on the book of the same name. So, let's go into it, shall we? This coincided with shooting back-to-back with Breaking Dawn Part 1 on November 2010 and wrapped in April 2011 with some reshoots included. And of course, this was the one that did take all the liberties, and this was also the one that had to bring it all home to a full stop. Scripts for Part 1 and Part 2 were combined into 220 pages, with that final battle being the biggest challenge because it lasts 25 pages. And so they had to keep track of so many characters in that. So I'm excited to talk about this one because just not only that this is the end of the series, which I'm sad that we'll have to end this review series, but at the same time, I'm very happy to have talked about these movies and put my thoughts out there. So it was one of the better years for movies. But also, this was the year that the Mayan calendar was predicted wrong. So yeah, this immediately picks up where Breaking Dawn Part 1 is. So Bella awakens as a vampire from her life-threatening labor, and her newborn daughter Renesmee proves to be very special. Indeed, Bella adjusts to the life of a vampire. Renesmee experiences accelerated growth. So when the Volturi learns of the baby's existence with a false claim, they declare her to be an abomination and sentences the Cullens to death. So Bella, Edward, Jacob, the Cullens, and a whole bunch of the clan seek help from allies around the world to protect their family if any means necessary, if it gets to altercation with the fight with the Volturi. Interested in rewatching this? I was very excited to rewatch this. I have not rewatched any of these movies since 2021, of course. I remember when this movie came out, I saw the trailer and it got to the part when you see the fight. That was the part I was very excited for to see, just because, and also it was going to be the last one. And my family was hyped. Every Twilight fan was hyped back in the day. So full on, these movies is guilty pleasures. So this is the last time I'm going to say it until the ranking video. And so I rewatched this the same night I rewatched Breaking Dawn Part 1 a couple weeks ago. I gotta tell you, I had so much fun rewatching this. A lot. I had so much fun rewatching this last movie. It was so fun. This movie, of course, once again has all your returning players from all the movies, joined with some new people, of course, like, of course, Lee Pace, Noah Fisher, Gary Rosenberg, Joe Anderson, Angela Sarafian, Rami Malek, of course, J.D. Pardo, Marissa Quinn, Judith Ciccone, Tracy Higgins, Tony Trucks, Andrea Gabriel, Valerie Curley, Omar Metwally, Marlene Bangs. Starting off with the list of positives to go on. This is the most fun movie since Eclipse. This one, you could tell that they knew this was going to be the end, and we sat through all the bullshit in New Moon and Breaking Dawn Part 1. Let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's give you an action type finale, even though it's not going to be into the last couple minutes. But I will say all of that boring bullshit from Part 1 is completely gone. They go in and out. It moves very fast. An hour and 55 minutes, aside from a few small parts. I will say they went all in. You could tell that this is the finale, and they wanted to enjoy this last finale. Sure, there's still the elements of the Twilight movies that are just not very well loved, but I will say this was the one that you could tell they wanted to have fun with the most. And I say Bill Condon, I think his direction in this is definitely better than Part 1. Not that it was bad in Part 1, he did the best he could, but I will say for what he got, is competent here. And this is the one of the movies besides Eclipse, maybe, or the first movie that I'll actually kind of recommend to people. Again, they're not great, but damn it, it's so cool to see everyone in this cast. You could tell that this was the last one. Everyone is just want to give one last go, and they wanted to make sure they conclude their character arcs from where we started to where it ends here. Everyone is having a fun time here. I love everyone in this cast. Everyone has hated doing these movies, but I will say this is the one of all the cast members they do the best with, especially Billy Burke. I like what they do with him. They give him a new girlfriend, which Sue Clearwater, which he had a massive upgrade from his ex-wife. As much people as giving this actress shit, and the fact that she got a Golden Razzie, which I think is bullshit, I will say Mackenzie Foy is fantastic here. They did a very good job in this. So Mackenzie Foy is fantastic here as Renesmee. This was her first movie, and I think Mackenzie Foy is good as Renesmee. There are some weird moments with her with CGI that when it's a baby or it's a little girl or it's an adult where they do put her face on the stand-ins for those when they shot them. But I will say Mackenzie Foy is great, and I think Mackenzie Foy is one of the more underappreciated actresses. She should be getting a lot more work. She should be in a trilogy of movies on her own by now, because she can lead a movie well. I've seen her do it well with Nutcracker in the Four Realms. A lot of people didn't like it, and she was fantastic in Interstellar. Cast was having fun, and speaking of cast, I have to say this is Kristen Stewart's best performance. Now, I know some people don't like her. I was one of those people who was not a fan of her after this movie, but I've had a resurgence and watched stuff like Spencer and such, and she is a very good actress when you give her something to work with. I know she's weird, I know she's bisexual, I know her style of acting isn't for everyone, but I will say here as Bella, there's something about her as a vampire that makes her kind of attractive, and it also makes her very funny. You can tell that she has been waiting to play this. She has a lot of fun. She has some kick-ass moments, and I think that she really does make it very awesome and does make it really damn cool. So I definitely very much enjoy her performance here. Robert Pattinson, of course, he knows that this is the last one and he never has to associate with these movies again. He has fun with this. There's a lot more personality in him. Taylor Lautner, despite my issues with him and the writing of the character, I think he has fun with this. Everyone has fun. They give their one last hurrah, and you can tell that even when doing stuff, they have fun making this. There's moments of humor in this movie I think is really funny, whether it's good humor or unintentional. For us having to sit through a lot of the dramatic lovey-dovey shit, you might as well give some comedy. There's some moments of comedy that isn't always work, and some of the cringy moments is not. Enjoy some of the comedy. I laughed my ass off watching this, especially one part I'm gonna get to. 4 is really great, especially epic in the fight. The Twilight Overture with the end credits, the opening credits, just, it's so beautiful, it's well done. You got themes from Alexander Desplat, Howard Shore, and Carter Burwell all mixed in together into one. You also have a great final soundtrack. You got some of my favorites in this soundtrack. The duet of 1,000 Years, I think is fantastic here. I love Bittersweet. I love Ellie Goulding. Let me tell you, this was the movie that made me a fan of Ellie Goulding, and I wanted to go back and listen to some of her other music because I think she's a very talented singer. So that song was great. You also had Green Day, St. Vincent, Passion Pit. You also had Nikki Reed and Paul McDonald doing a song for this, which this was before she met Ian Somerhalder, so All I Ever Needed, that was beautiful. The soundtrack, they give it one last hurrah, but that score was just fucking epic, especially in that last half when you have that big ass fight. The score, when I listen to the score for that, when I go to listen to the music for that, like a kick in the head and such, I just immediately get hyped up for it, and it's just awesome to listen to, and it's just so fun. Cinematography looks damn good in this movie. Guillermo del Toro, the budget is $136 million. So I definitely really enjoy that. So the cinematography looks gorgeous here. There's some great sweeping shots, even some shots in the fight scenes. They're very documentary, close-up light, handheld. It's shot very well. It's also edited completely well. I do miss some of the violence, but it's just a me thing. And the thing I definitely have to give credit to is Bella finds out that Jacob imprints on Renesmee. That is one of my favorite moments in this movie, and right next to one more we're going to talk about.
You imprinted on my daughter?
It wasn't my choice.
She's a baby!
It's not like that. You think Edward would let me live if it was?
Still debating it.
I've held her once. One time, Jacob! And already you think that you have some moronic, wolfy claim on her? She's mine!
But this moment was just so satisfying watching, because Jacob, you imprint on the newborn baby, your ass deserves to get beat up. Honestly, I love that. That is great. I love it. That is actually a fun moment. It's very kick-ass, it's very hilarious, and it's just entertaining to see Jacob get his ass whooped. The line, yes, you nickname my daughter after the Loch Ness Monster. The way Kristen Stewart delivers that line is unintentionally stupid and it's unintentionally funny, but I think the way it adds into the beginning of the movie makes it a lot of fun. I definitely really enjoy that.
From the beginning, it was Nessie who wanted me there.
Nessie? You nicknamed my daughter after the Loch Ness Monster?
You also have some of these vampires having different abilities. One has the power to tase you. One has the power to do all the elements, which is Rami Malek's character, which he will later become an Academy Award winner. We can debate on that. One has the ability to show you their memories. Bella, she has the power to use shields. And then also you have two of them which has the right to keep you and get you back in check. All of the different abilities, they do some interesting things with them. So I will say they do very good with that. I will also say they do make Bella a little more strong here. I wish it was better written for us to actually get invested there, but I like that. My favorite part of this movie, the reason why I go back to rewatch this movie, the fights between the Volturi, the wolves, and the vampires, the entire Cullens clan.
Victory is mine!
I know they have to put this in because it was not in the book. There's one issue I have with it when it comes to it, but I will say I think that was awesome and it was kick-ass, and I definitely really enjoyed the fact that you have this whole all-out war out such with the wolves and the vampires. Jacob having to protect Renesmee, Bella and Edward and everyone just fighting each other. Carlisle's getting killed by Aro. You also have Jasper and a few others getting killed off, and Volturi members getting killed off. The effects, the way the music plays, the way the scene is shot. Bella just going in, kicking people into the ground of lava like this is Sparta.
You fucked up, bitch!
Alice gets a badass moments when she's free from the Volturi. Just takes Jane and just throws Jane to the vampire. No, she throws Jane to Sam, and Sam just eats her up. And then you have the funniest moment in this battle when you have these two, Vladimir and then the other vampire, go after Christopher Heyerdahl's character when he's like, finally. Which at first I thought when I first watched this, I thought he said, I'm ready. But no, I rewatched it more times, he said finally, because he's lived his life as a vampire. He's just ready to die. So all of that, I think, is awesome. I love this soul fight so much. It's fucking good, it's so awesome, I love it! And then we find out it's a dream. Aside from that issue, which I'll explain more in negatives, that entire fight, just so satisfying. I love it. It's just awesome. It's badass. It's what I came to this last movie for. Even 13-year-old, 14-year-old me in 2012 was just so hyped to see this. I was like, yes, yes. I was rooting for the. I know I shouldn't be rooting for something like that, but I was like, hell yes, you kill the Volturi, Bella. You kill Aro. All of y'all, feed these Volturi kids to the dogs. I was like, whoa! And then Jacob gets a moment where he protects Renesmee. A Volturi member comes after him, and Renesmee says, watch out.
Correct!
Going into the mix aspect of Breaking Dawn Part 2, there's two things I have issues with. One is I feel like there's a few characters in this cast, like Billy Berg or the actress who plays his new girlfriend, which again, massive step up, or just a few of the new vampires, or a few actors that's been with us in the past, didn't really get as much to do. It kind of feel like there was a way you could have had them in this movie a little bit more. And I understand when it comes to Charlie, because he has to deal with the whole thing with Bella being a vampire and Renesmee not knowing that it came from his daughter or such. But there's just a few moments I think where those actors could have done a little bit more. There is some CGI work on Renesmee that is very hit and miss. Now at times, because they used little kids and also a grown adult stand-in, they actually used the actress who play Renesmee and put her face onto those faces and into the baby's face. There's moments of it where it does look fine, and you can tell it is kind of Mackenzie Foy. But there's also some moments, especially on the baby, which I didn't talk about it in my last review, where it just looks very iffy. And it feels like they could have just fixed it up a little bit in post. It's not some of the worst CGI ever, but it's something that I give them credit for ambition for the $137 million budget they used. But there's a part of me that kind of wish you kind of use an animatronic baby or just try to find a real baby. I know it'd be hard to get the baby to quiet down in between scenes, but just a little thing. Moving into negatives, some of the other effects in here, there's also some other iffy effects here, like the effects of the vampire powers, also the werewolves and the whole cracking between the two. That looks fine. That looks fine effects wise here, but there's also some effects that does not look that great in here in a few times, and it has not held up since. And it feels like some of that CGI could have been a lot more stronger and a lot more well thought out for the budget that they had, because some of the effects here kind of look bad, some of them looks mostly good to decent. There's still the cringy dialogue that you're gonna get with these Twilight movies, so that is automatically a little thing that's always going to be a problem when I rewatch these movies. This dialogue is going to be cringy, especially with the nickname my daughter, which as cringy as it is, I think is also laughable. So there's some moments of dialogue where it is cringy at points, and there's also moments of dialogue where it is very bland at points. So It's basically a pick your battles scenario when it comes to that. You could have one more rewrite in terms of scripts. Some of the new characters from the vampire clan, they're fun and they are interesting with some of the new vampires, which they open up their house to 18 vampires or way more. But it just kind of feels like some of them could have had a little bit more to do, and they have more to do in the books. But I feel like for this last movie, if this was at least a little 10, 15 minutes or 25 minutes longer, we could have gotten a little bit more to know about some of these new vampires that we are seeing in this last movie. Like the Denali's, or the two black vampires, one that can control your senses or take your hearing. It's just some of that could have been a little bit fixer-upper. Characters here from the original series, as I said, they get a little underused. Some has more to do than others. Some were just kind of there for a few scenes spread throughout the movie and then boom, not to be seen again. There's a few moments in here where some of the direction here is not really that best in terms of a few characters get underused. Yeah, I understand this is a massive ensemble, so you have to do the best you could. So I do feel like that could have been handled better as well. But my biggest complaint when it comes to this movie, I just talked about the final battle. I don't like the fact that this is a dream. Now I understand, me having read the book. In the book, we don't see the vision. We hear about it, we just don't see what it is. And this is something I actually really like, that they actually show us what's going to happen in Auro's future if he doesn't just come to a different decision. What kills me is that the fact that this is a fucking dream.
What the fuck is this?
What?
I don't want to understand it.
Say what?
You're a loser! Are you feeling sorry for yourself? Well, you should be, because you are dirt!
Why couldn't this whole fight just be the actual last time we see the Volturi? Granted, you have to have this end in a happy way with the Twilight Saga, but it's just the fact that the Volturi has been pissing us off for the last couple movies since Twilight Saga New Moon is like, you should have just had the Volturi actually die. It just kind of makes the final battle a little pointless. But at the same time, well, anyone who's read these books, whether you've read the books or hated them or liked them, you do have to give credit to the fact that they did actually put the vision in what Auro's going to see if he doesn't come to a different decision about Renesmee. That final battle's cool and everything, but it's just, you could have just actually had this be the actual end of the movie. But I get it. You know, all I'm saying. Hey, Breaking Dawn Part 2 is definitely a step up from Breaking Dawn Part 2. 1 is not as boring, is not as inconsequential. I still feel like there is a part of these last two movies where you could have mashed both parts into one and have it be a little bit longer. I didn't think you have to stretch this out into two. But I will say, of the two Breaking Dawns, this is the one I do tolerate the most. Because it has that final battle. Because it knows what it is. They know it's campy. They know it's stupid. And they know that this is the last of this franchise for them. So I'll definitely give credit to that. It's not perfect, but it ain't horrible. I'll give you that. It's not horrible. Same time, I can watch all of these movies as guilty pleasures, and I know these movies are shit. I know these movies are terrible, but there's a part of me that can just enjoy this movie has to offer. Again, Breaking Dawn Part 2 is not perfect. I never say it's perfect. I'm not saying this is a masterpiece, but I can definitely sit here and say I did enjoy this movie with its problems and all. And this is one I would actually kind of recommend to people, despite not being a great movie. Just know that it's not Oscar worthy and it's going to have the same issues as the Twilight movies. You might enjoy this, but if you are a Twilight fan, If you are a Twilight fan of the books, or you're not a fan of these type of movies that messes with vampires and werewolves, yeah. And with that, that concludes my first franchise review of the year. And we got plenty more franchises that we're going to be covering on this channel for 2024. We got Alien, we got Austin Powers, I want to do the Millennium series. I kind of want to go back and do 007, also Lord of the Rings, because we got the War of the Rohirrim coming out later this year. So look out for those. So well, that's gonna do it for the video that you just watched. If you want to see more, my channel icon is up here. If you want to see more content from me, all my social medias are right here in this end card. I will also leave a playlist and a video here for you to see what the channel is about. As always, acknowledge me, stay Epictastic, join the Epictasticness, and you guys keep it cool.